What's going on, everybody? It's Tom.
And it's Jamie. Welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast.
The Chronicles of Bloodstock 2024.
Hi, my name's Phil. I'm the guitarist and vocalist for Final Coil.
I'm Yola and I'm bassist.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you both. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
And luckily the rain has stopped for this time being, so fingers crossed. Everything crossed, that sort of thing. How are your personal Saturdays treating you?
Absolutely amazing. We played yesterday, so there may or may not have been mild celebration, so there was a little bit of fragility this morning.
Yeah. Also a bit of alcohol involved after.
Just a little bit. How's the heads?
Well, there were pills, mistakes were made. So certain life choices were questioned.
Okay, love it. Are you excited for the announcement that was made yesterday?
I'm absolutely thrilled about this, you know. So as soon as I'm coming back home, I'm buying tickets. That's just
Yeah. So I just noticed you're up for a shirt, so yeah. So obviously you mentioned the mild celebrations, but how was the set yesterday?
It was amazing. I mean, we've been waiting for so many years to have the opportunity to play Bloodstock. So Yola and I first came here in 2008, and Opeth were headlining back then. And I think that was the year that we kind of brought the band back after a hiatus. And it never occurred to me that, you know, some years down the line we'd be playing here, and it went brilliantly. We had a chance to play songs from all three albums.
Nice.
We had a really nice crowd. We had some good friends who made the effort to come just to see us, and I think we made quite a few new friends as well. You know, the new Blood stage is such a major stepping stone for bands.
Yeah, oh yes. Yeah, that's one thing I love about Bloodstock is that no matter what time you're on, and no matter where you're playing, people will turn up, regardless of how hungover they are, how tired they are. No matter if, say, a bigger band's clashing on the main stage, people will always turn up to watch new material, see new bands, and I think it's incredible. Huge family feel about this festival. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unique in that regards. I mean, we go to a lot of festivals, and I think really there's, you know, Bloodstock and Arctangent are maybe the two that really sort of go out of their way to support independent bands.
Yes.
And, you know, the bigger festivals, I think particularly sort of things like Reading, which used to be very good at that back in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, they sort of moved away from that, and it really just takes away from the festival, and, you know, it makes Bloodstock very, very special.
Yeah, 100%. But compared to a Final Coil show, to a Final Coil festival show, do you change the set list up accordingly so people might not be so familiar with yourself, say, so you just drop all the bangers in?
You know, we had that discussion, and we decided that the best representation of the band would be to be quite honest about the fact that we're very progressive. We do conceptual themed albums, so we staged the set list very much like we stage an album. So we started with two of our heavier songs because we obviously wanted to come in hard, and then we actually had a kind of lengthy progressive song in the middle. It's one of our favourites to play called Fail Light, and it's something I think a little bit different for the festival. You do get some bands playing some of that more ethereal material, like Alcest would do something like that. But I think it was just a more honest representation of who we are, and we wanted to do that so that the people who did come and check us out would hopefully sort of come with us. We didn't want to just kind of drop all our short, heavy songs in there because it wouldn't feel natural to us.
Yeah, I think that the same, our albums we're always working on the way that we want to have really good flow, so it's a really nice journey for people who actually listen to the albums. We love music, we collect music, we have lots of records at home, we listen like vinyl from top to end. And yes, we are planning to actually do vinyl for our last record as well, because we actually cherish that experience, and we actually really think through how we want set to come. So people who are coming in from top to land, they will kind of have really interesting experience. And for us, it's interesting to play, so yeah.
And we were delighted because the audience stayed with us, and I think they really dug that kind of long Failed Light, and then obviously we brought it back to the heavier stuff towards the end.
I mean, you picked a perfect day to play long songs with Opeth headlining, to be fair. People were there for that sort of music.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, Opeth are huge fans of Opeth as well.
Oh,
and
so
playing
good.
the same day
They
and
were
then
so good.
They were, weren't they? Absolutely amazing.
But us as a podcast, we're ambassadors for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. Are you aware of Sophie and the story?
Yes, we are, and I think it was probably one of the most traumatic, and I think it was a defining moment in many ways for the metal community, both in terms of the horror of what happened, but also the positivity of what came out of that, and particularly the foundation and the work that it's doing. But yeah, we're very aware of it.
So what we're doing when we're talking to artists this weekend, we're trying to find out What are some of the stereotypes that you've had put on you in your day-to-day life, whether it be when younger or even now to this day, just because you're part of this community, whether it be, oh, he's a rough and ready one, isn't he? Oh, I bet he worships Satan. You know, whatever it may be, are these the sort of things you've had to deal with in your life?
I think certainly it's that kind of, there's always this kind of stereotype about hatred and anger and Satanism that exists in the metal community. This is what you hear. So it's like, oh, you listen to angry music, you must be really full of hate, you must really hate these things. And it's weird because obviously you talk to metal fans, you talk to metal bands, they are the nicest, kindest, most humanitarian people you'll ever meet. You know, whether you're reading an interview with Cannibal Corpse and you see Corpse Grinder holding a puppy, you know, they're just incredibly lovely people. And, you know, the music, the art is, you know, absolutely separated from the people. It's really weird because it's the same with like horror movies. If you like ever read interviews with like the people who make horror movies, they're so proud and so delighted of the work they do, but they get tarred with this brushing. You know, you must be violent, you must really hate people, you must be a misanthrope, and I think that stigma it still attaches to the metal community, and I've never really understood why. Because you spend even 5 minutes talking to someone wearing a black metal T-shirt, you'll find that they're just really nice people.
Absolutely, but I think you've answered the question there. When you talk to someone, there is no line of communication. It's all assumption, which is the problem, which is what we need to try and get rid of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that's the conceptual thrust of all three of our albums. That the whole, the Persistence trilogy is about exactly that. It's about how society has become increasingly polarized. And, you know, when you talk about sort of hatred and prejudice, one of the things we've seen with the riots this last week is that when you've got people who are literally taking an extreme stance and just throwing out sound bites, there is no communication, there's no discussion of any issues, of any problems. There's just this kind of hatred and intolerance on both sides. And that, you know, it's exactly that sort of led to the fear and hatred that resulted in the death of Sophie. And it's awful. And I don't think, unfortunately, social media has particularly helped with that.
No, I think that is one thing we've had a lot, is social media being very much a double-edged sword. You can find your community, you can find people in this family as well, but at the same time you're open to a lot of abuse from strangers on the internet.
Absolutely.
Yes, I totally agree with this, and the thing is that, we love discussion as a band, we're discussing a lot of things, internally as well, we love talking with people, but also, challenging people, getting information out of them. Some people are just quite shy, they don't want to say what they think, but also as an artist, I was saying on previously actually that we are responsible of this, what we are saying, and what message we are sending to people, because it's very important, we do have impact, we are all kind of connected, this what we're saying, people receiving, and I think it's very important to keep in that discussion, and challenge, and also compromises as well, which are very difficult, in the best of time, in all kind of parts of life, from work, home, and your hobbies, But it is just keeping conversations, and giving time as well to breathe and have time to think,
Absolutely. But obviously, when we were growing up, and what happened to Sophie, and then you fast forward to 2024, the world is a very different place. Do you think it's easier to grow up as part of this community now than it was back then, or still problems?
I think the problems still very much exist. And again, you mentioned sort of social media is a double-edged sword. I think it is easier now than it was in the 90s, for example, to find your own community. But I think also the problem is that a lot of these communities have almost, maybe out of self-defense, but they've become ring-fenced. So they actually sort of become more closed to outsiders, and that's where you then start to get that kind of intolerance, because where you've got people on the outside looking in, they're only going to see what they want to see, and they're going to interpret it through their own unique lens. And that's why it's really important to have some outreach and to have sort of discussions. There does need to be more of that, I think, whether we're talking about the metal community or whether you're talking about politics or whether you're talking about sport or whatever, discussion and, finding common ground and common humanity is the most important thing. So in some ways, I think, this wonderful metal community, it's here and it's possible, and you've got places like Bloodstock that prove that. But at the same time, there's still that issue with the people from the outside looking in, oh, you're going to Bloodstock, oh, that's going to be a weekend of violence and drugs and Satan, you sacrifice goats. I'm 40 and I still hear this from work colleagues, oh, it must be a very angry place. No.
Please go back to work just covered in blood. And have a white lab coat on, just covered in that, holding a cross upside down or something. That'd be amazing.
I was going to go with the goat's head that I killed.
Yeah.
It's blood livestock. Anyway, bringing it back to yourselves. That joke was terrible. You guys are here because you were handpicked by Simon Hall, I believe I read.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think that fact has really only hit us today. We've spent the last 3 months in denial. Just waiting for the email going, April Fools.
What was that moment like, though, when you received that email to be like, you coming?
I mean, quite honestly, when I saw Simon Bloodstock, I was expecting the kind of, thanks, we had a listen. I was like, oh yeah, thanks, so nice of you to check it out. Never mind, maybe next. Oh. Okay. So I sort of took 5 minutes, read it again, sent a message to the band like, guys, I think we might be playing Bloodstock. Then kind of WhatsApp blew up. So yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, and I mean, really, we were so gobsmacked to be picked, and it's an honour to be here. Really, having been fans for so long, to find ourselves here playing it. We've been coming since 2008, so yeah, it's huge.
Incredible. Before we let you get out of here, you released your last album in January. What's the future looking like now?
So in the immediate future, we've got some gigs. We're going to be playing with the Progressive guys, Coma Rossi, and our good friends The River in Leicester in October. We're going to just build up a few more dates around that, so we're hoping to come back to London. We also want to go somewhere north, so maybe Leeds, because there's some really great venues there, or Manchester. And also somewhere down south. I've always wanted to play Bournemouth because I'm originally from that part of the world, and I just love to go back there and play.
Lovely town.
It's great, yeah. And then we've got 2 gigs in France, which we haven't formally announced, but we're going to be playing Paris and Rouen in December. First time we've ever gone. We actually recorded our albums in Italy. We didn't get a chance to play there because we were so busy doing the recordings. So yeah, we're going over to France and playing, which is just huge for us. And I've just finished writing the 4th album. So our guitarist Rich is coming over to our house in 2 weeks to just finish the solos on that, and then we're going to look for a studio and get that recorded.
Wow. Incredible.
We don't stop, really.
I was going to say. And then we'll breathe. Incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time and chat to us today.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.